Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You made the trip. You got your host and co-host, DanK and Reverend Will.
Howdy, folks.
So we've got some interesting stories and some discussion to talk about. And one thing I want to run real quick was the first story was out of Arizona. This is a little bit of a victory, and we wanted to share it with everybody. Arizona ruling orders a return of medical marijuana. Phoenix, an Arizona appellate court has ruled that the Yuma County Sheriff must return marijuana that was seized from a woman with a California medical marijuana authorization honored by Arizona. The Court of Appeals ruling Thursday says medical marijuana seized from Valerie Yukon must be returned to her because Arizona's medical marijuana law allows people with medical marijuana authorizations from other states to legally possess marijuana in Arizona. It said the Arizona court declined to consider the prosecutor's argument that the federal drug law invalidates Arizona medical marijuana laws. The Court of Appeals ruling upholds one by a Yuma County Superior Court judge. So that's good news. At least the courts are starting to go the right way, and a small victory. So we did want to share the victory along with the bad news.
Oh yeah, we'd like to tell you a lot more good news, but we gotta find it first.
Yeah, exactly. And then the bad news, this is a horror story. Legal marijuana provider gets 10 years, a lecture from the judge. You want to read that?
Yeah, Aaron Sandusky, the president of G3 Holistics, which operated 3 legal under state law California medical marijuana dispensaries, was sentenced to 10 years in federal court on Monday in Los Angeles. Once his sentence is served, Sandusky will then face 5 years of supervised probation, including random drug testing. He is also being compelled to complete a complete drug rehab program, despite any evidence he actually has a drug addiction problem. Defense attorney Roger Diamond made an impassioned plea on behalf of his client, highlighting the conflicting opinions not only between state and federal law, but also laws within the state of California. He pointed out that Sandusky provided much-needed medicine to seriously ill patients in full and open compliance with California state laws. Diamond pleaded for leniency in sentencing in light of the fact that his clients had not hurt anyone and his crimes were completely victimless. Judge Anderson stated that Sandusky had lost his moral compass. He went on to say that Congress has determined that marijuana is a dangerous, controlled substance, and distribution of a controlled substance is a serious thing. The judge continued to address Sandusky and his crowd of pro-cannabis supporters, saying drugs have a direct correlation with gangs and violence, and if you don't see that, you have blinders on. Upon imposing sentence, the judge said a substantial sentence was warranted as a deterrent. Deterrent was a significant factor, a detriment was a significant factor in this case. He claimed he was convinced that if the sentence were lenient, Sandusky would go out and repeat his crimes. He also stated that if he failed to impose a harsh enough sentence, it would both trivialize Sandusky's conduct and not protect the public. So there you have it.
Yeah. That's you know, stuff like that. You hear stuff like that. I mean, it's just so incredibly stupid. It's like in 2004, they wouldn't let us have our hemp fest in the city park because it would be, quote, a danger to the public. I still have the letter, and that was actually written by a Eugene police officer, believe it or not. So anyway, that's
know about that though. It's just like when the people of this state, to the degree that they did, state that we have a right to have our medicine. and put the state in a position of helping us to get that medicine. And then the state turns around and says, well, look, we're not going to get you medicine. We're not going to have anything to do with getting you medicine. What we're going to do is control you by keeping track of your information. And we're going to make you pay us to do this. Now understand, folks, this judge here sits down and talks about how he couldn't believe that this guy doesn't understand this stuff. What we don't understand is how you can circumvent the law and the statement from the people of what they want happening, and you don't do anything about it. You are the criminals. The people who are working for OMMP, the state of Oregon, and the federal government are the criminals in this scenario. You are locking up people who there's no way in the world need to be locked up. They have been the backbone of taking care of the elderly and taking care of people with medical conditions. Believe that, they do the grunt work and a lot of the caregiving homes and stuff, and all they ask for is to be able to relax. It's so nuts.
Danbo used to say that cannabis, the government doesn't have the right to say cannabis is illegal, so therefore it is legal. It's not illegal, it's illegal, because they don't have the right to say it is illegal.
Right, it's just like what we were reading about here with how this person's getting hammered. Understand, this is just like Curtis Shimon here in town, who did cannabis. You know, understand, his intent was the same. He had lawyers right there who were supporting him and telling him that what he was doing was legal and it was okay. Now, if your lawyer who's being paid by you is telling you that it's okay, why isn't the government going after the lawyers that told this man that this action was okay? Right now, they've already taken his money. He's not even been to court. To me, when they take that money, it should be put into an account and it should have interest being charged so that the person whose money has been taken has something being done with his money besides going to sleep and being used by the government before he's ever been to court or convicted. I mean, that is not right, folks. Understand, you talk about taking up arms. Right there is a place you want to take up arms, where the government's coming in and totally abusing you in your process and then making you pay in that process. Oh, no, 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 this needs to go. This needs to change now.
Yeah, it's like the bumper sticker. If you're not outraged, you're not paying attention.
That's a great one. That's really good.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And the discrimination, like we talked about, is just disgusting. And just as a quick note to make sure that everybody's clear, the DEA is still active. DEA raids 3 LA medical marijuana dispensaries. This is dated January 9, 2013. And remember, Obama, when he was running for election the first time, he said we shouldn't use any federal resources to prosecute anybody using medical marijuana, applying with their state program. They shouldn't be prosecuted, and yet they're still going on it.
Now he's been reelected, and these people are right now, like within days of when we're going on the air, doing this.
Yep, yeah, and still doing it. DEA agents raided 3 Los Angeles medical marijuana dispensaries Wednesday afternoon, according to a preliminary report from Americans for Safe Access, California Director Don Duncan. More details were not forthcoming by press time. The federal government has unleashed a DEA on dispensaries under both the Bush and Obama administrations, although there was a respite between 2009 and late 2011 when the Justice Department had a policy of generally leaving them alone. But that policy shifted again in 2011, and both the DEA and federal prosecutors have been busy going after dispensaries since then. One Southern California dispensary operator, Aaron Sandusky, was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison just this Monday. That's the story we just did. The story has not been limited to California. While hundreds of California dispensaries have been forced out of business by raids, asset forfeiture threats, and or prosecutions, so have dozens of dispensaries in Colorado and a series of statewide raids in Montana. In the spring of 2011, virtually wiped out that state's dispensary scene. The LA DEA raids came as the city grappled over what to do about dispensaries. An effort by the city council to shut them all down was blocked by popular opposition. Now the council, and perhaps city voters, will have to consider two different municipal initiatives, one of which would limit the number of dispensaries to the city to about 100, the other of which would allow most existing dispensaries to stay open.
Where in the hell is free enterprise here?
Yeah.
You know, understand, the things that I fought for in other countries trying to give people their rights and stuff are just being blatantly abused here, and we can't get any. Look, this is it, folks. If it wasn't for our studio here, if it wasn't for the good graces of this station, we would be hearing nothing about these things unless you're on the internet. If you can afford the internet, then you can find out more about these abuses. But understand, this has got to cease, and we need to wake up, stand up, and make a difference, because this is, I mean, here's, do we have time for this, or are we going to come back to it? Because the new group, I think, fits.
Oh, okay, yeah, well, yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah, a new group here is formed, and calling themselves SAM, or Project SAM, Smart Approaches to Marijuana. Among its leadership team is liberal former Rhode Island Democratic congressman and self-admitted Oxycontin and alcohol addict Patrick Kennedy and conservative commentator David Frum. And what SAM emphasizes a public health approach to marijuana. But when it comes to marijuana law, its prescriptions are a mix of near reasonable and the around the bend. Rational marijuana policy, SAM says, precludes relying only on the criminal justice system to address people whose only crime is smoking or possessing a small amount of marijuana, and the group calls for small-time possession to be decriminalized, but subject to a mandatory health screening and marijuana education program. The SAM version of decrim also includes referrals to treatment if needed, and probation for up to a year to prevent further drug use. But it also calls for an end to NYPD-style stop and frisk busts and the expungement of arrest records for marijuana possession. SAM calls for an end to mandatory minimum sentences for marijuana cultivation or distribution, but wants those offenses to remain misdemeanors or felonies based on the amount possessed. For now, SAM advocates a zero-tolerance approach to marijuana and driving.
Okay.
This is
so we have to
saying driving with any amount of marijuana in one's system should be at least a misdemeanor and should result in a mandatory health assessment, marijuana education program, and referral to treatment or social services.
Need to wrap it up.
If a scientific, anyway, that's what we're looking forward to here, people, on one of the ideas.
Okay.
So we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Being treated with morphine and other major opiates, what was the feeling like versus what it's like treating yourself with cannabis?
I was taking 27 different pharmaceuticals. I was on an intravenous morphine pump, and most of my medication was administered intravenously. I was basically a vegetable. I had a colostomy, I had a catheter, I couldn't go to the bathroom by myself, I couldn't shower by myself. By using alternative treatments with cannabis oils, cannabis juices, within 90 days, I was not only able to walk and talk again, but I'm working full-time and have a number of companies that I work with and represent in developing products to treat cancer patients.
So can I ask for, that's amazing. We have some video of you, Cheryl, during one of your many hospital visits. Let's take a look at that.
So I'm here, my back is really killing me and they can't give you the pain medication. They've had me on morphine here for several days. Got me in the wheelchair. That's my gallbladder over there, liver. I really want out of the hospital. I miss my dogs. I miss being home. I'm tired. So I hope that we can get to the bottom of everything, and I just want everything to be over because I'm just kind of tired of dealing with all this stuff. I guess I'm not as tough a cookie as I thought.
You look like a different human being.
You know, it makes me so sad when I remember those times because I was ready to die. I was ready to die.
And now you're helping this family. Can we talk about treating a 7-year-old? Is it the same thing because it's, you know, a child that we're talking about?
Well, here's the thing about cancer. Cancer doesn't discriminate on age. You can be 52 like I am, or you can be 7 years old. The bottom line is these patients need treatment, and cancer I've found and a number of people found to be not only an effective treatment.
Welcome back. We want to talk to you about our newspapers. We've got DanK here and our friend Reverend Will, and last week we showed you the Oregon Cannabis Connection. We've seen an image on the screen here, and that's a local paper published out of Medford. And I contacted them, and we asked them where we could get them, and he said that they're at the Compassion Center, all of the head shops, the Wow Hall, maybe, Chronic Care, Brian Michael's office, and Southern Oregon Alternative Medicine.
In Springfield.
In Springfield. So that's some of the tips on where you can get them. You could also get a hold of me through my contact email, dankbagman@hotmail.com. We can also get you the West Coast Leaf, and I just got those in this today, and so those are available too. And those can be attained at the EMU, both the Oregon Cannabis Connection actually and the West Coast Leaf can be obtained also at the EMU on the university campus. And our friend John Walsh does his table there most every weekday, so you can pick them up there too. The West Coast Leaf is an excellent newspaper, even though it's published in California. It's just like I said, West Coast Leaf, it covers the whole coast. And there's a lot of great information in it. Will just saw the first issue a few minutes ago and already found several stories he wanted to cover. So what's the first one that struck your fancy there?
Well, we like to talk about our friends in California, Americans for Safe Access, and right now they're involved in a court case, and this is the Federal Appeals Court for the D.C. Circuit heard oral arguments October 16th, 2012. And it's a legal challenge to the government's contention that cannabis has no medical use. And we're sitting here, one of the people that's a respondent in this is this man, his name is Kravitz, Michael Kravitz?
Michael Kravitz. Mm-hmm.
And the court's request for clarification is a sign that this case is being taken very seriously, said ASA Chief Counsel Joe Alford, who argued the case. The current classification of cannabis is based more on politics than science. And when we're talking about Kravitz, he's rated 100% permanently disabled by Department of Veteran Affairs, but is denied treatment because he uses cannabis on the advice of a physician to treat pain, trauma, and eye disease. That forces him to pay for medical care that would otherwise be covered by the VA, which has a policy of denying pain management care to anyone who uses cannabis. Now, you know a little more about this than I do, right? So you were saying that they use this as a basis to get the VA to support chronic pain people being able to get their medication as long as they're in compliance with state laws.
Right.
And,
Michael Kravitz was the one that was instrumental in getting a letter from the VA.
Which is awesome, VA.
Yeah.
It's about time. We've tried to talk to you for years about this, and it's one of the things that's one of my biggest bones of contention is that the patient is supposed to be in charge of what's happening with his health. The doctor is supposed to be there for information and performing services if he's that kind of doctor. But understand, as far as making the decision that this is what you need to do, and if you don't do this, then you're not going to get that, I mean, that's insane. We're telling you that it helps us, and you're telling us that we don't know what we're talking about. Now, understand, as a veteran, it's really hard for me to walk down the street a lot of times and have people smoking cigarettes basically killing everything around them, and it's okay because it's legal, And my question to that is, so all these things that are dying, including the people who are doing them, are they somehow less dead or something? Because understand, the fact that it's legal and it's killing them, the two things don't make any sense. That, oh, it's legal, so it's okay to kill them? Is that what you're saying? Is that what the federal government and the DEA and the FDA are saying at this point in time? Is it's okay for all of you people who smoke to die a horrible death? Hey, knock yourselves out.
Yeah, it's hypocritical at best. And by the way, back to the West Coast Leaf briefly. I forgot to mention this, that I was talking to Will earlier about them going on a, well, this may be their last issue, and then as Will was talking, I happened to read this caption here. Going on hiatus. The staff of the West Coast Leaf, editorial assistant Jackie Gay Wilson, and editors and publishers Chris Conrad and Mickey Norris wish to thank our many readers, advertisers, and contributors for their support during the last 5 years. So that's what I remember reading something about it. They are going, I guess, on a hiatus, so hopefully they'll be back. All three of these are incredible people and real patriots. Chris Conrad is extremely well-spoken. I've met him a few times. He is a professional, what do they call it, a witness for marijuana trials, and anyway, does a lot of good work. And Mickey Norris is the founder of November Coalition.
Okay.
November Coalition's organization that draws attention to people that are incarcerated for medical or for marijuana offenses. Does an incredible program. They used to have a booth at events that looked like a jail, and they have pictures on both sides of the walls, inside and outside, completely covered. It's pictures of defendants and their families, and there's just a short story on what happened in their lives because of the drug war. Very effective. Anyway, so that's even more reason to get your West Coast Leaf, because this, at least for now, will be the last issue. So this is the winter issue. So anyway, you found some other stories? Well,
you know, just we'd like to entice you to pick up one of these magazines and read for yourself the whole stories on these, but thought we'd give you a couple of headlines and maybe a little thought on each one. This first one is that Mendocino moves to quash federal subpoenas. And they're saying that they've filed suit to quash 5 federal subpoenas seeking information on its 9.31 medical marijuana cultivation policy. And they have their reasons and stuff, so it's okay, but it's just one of those things that it's happening, folks. I mean, these people are saying no to the federal government coming in here. And that's one of our big thoughts for the night, is the fact that if our state decided to say no to helping the feds when they come in here to pull their stuff, they would not have the manpower nor the ability to finish up what they're doing.
Yeah, and
so that's why I've asked the Attorney General to protect us at this point in time.
Yes, and I mean, why are these state and local law enforcement assisting the feds that are busting their citizens that are doing stuff that's illegal within the state? What's wrong with this picture? It's just, oh man, another head slapping. It's just, oh man, it's so infuriating. And what makes it even worse, the whole cannabis thing, that whole thing is done by our government, county.
Right, and that's something we don't understand. And the way they're treating this man is not appropriate.
Yeah, that's not feds, that's county. So there's no excuse, well, DEA, it's the federal. No, it isn't. It's county. So state, and it's egregious. Anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's great, Dan. There's another study here that cannabis may lower diabetes risk. Scientists at the University of California, Los Angeles assessed the association between diabetes and marijuana use in over 10,000 U.S. adults aged 20 to 59, split into 4 groups, was defined based on self-reporting or abnormal glycemic parameters. The investigators reported that past and present cannabis consumers had a lower prevalence of diabetes as adjusted for other variables ethnicity, things like that. So basically all of that gobbledygook was just saying that if you've been smoking pot for a lot of your life, you'll have less potential of getting diabetes.
Yeah, it's just a win-win. And then there's been a lot of studies about cancer and how it fights cancer.
Well, in fighting cancer, one of the things right off the top, as a person who's pretty logical would see, is that if it makes you eat, which is one of the things they've been kidding us about all our lives, you know, oh yeah, guys like to eat a lot, yeah, that's all you do is get the munchies. Okay, understand these people that have cancer can't eat. They don't have an appetite. So if they're smoking herb, you would think if it gives them an appetite, then they're going to be able to eat, and also it helps them to keep it down, which then gives them energy to fight cancer. Hey, it didn't take a scientist or any doctor in any laboratory to figure that out. It took some pothead out here to figure it out. And understand, the doctors and these other people still can't figure it out, even when we tell them. So what else are we supposed to do? I guess we have to create the report ourselves, but then we're not supposed to be doing any kind of research. Yeah. So, but then look at what Nida's saying right here. Did you read that?
No. University of Arizona Internal Review Board informed researchers at the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, October 21st, 2011, that it had approved their protocol for a marijuana study treating post-traumatic stress disorder in 50 U.S. veterans. The IRB joins the Food and Drug Administration in approving the study, increasing pressure on other federal agencies to let it move forward. Yes, and they're going to try to go through the Oregon legislature to get it on the Oregon medical marijuana program this year. We've tried twice through the procedure of adding conditions to the OMMP and have been turned down cold every time, and yet so they can't add conditions to help patients, but they can sure double their fees and take their money. You know?
Yeah, it's just killing me reading this here about study finds cannabis as exit drug away from addiction. That's interesting. I mean, these are things for you folks to pick up, okay?
That's right.
Because what we wanted to do was
that's the West Coast
hit your
leaf.
taste bud.
Yeah, you bet. That's the West Coast leaf, so get a hold of us. You want a copy, and we'll get one to you to figure something out. So
there you go.
Thanks for being here, and we're out of here. So see you next week.